Former President Clinton was playing golf with his usual foursome around 9 a.m. on a sunny day. As the day warmed up, he took off his jacket, and one of his friends noticed he had panties wrapped around his upper left arm. Although his friends knew him well, no one questioned why he had women's underwear wrapped around his arm, although they were curious. Finally, as they played more holes, one of his friends had to ask him, as the last one in the group finished putting on a green. "Bill, what's going on with you with the panties wrapped around your left arm?" "It's a patch I'm trying to quit." A storm was moving while Joe was finishing his round. He was playing very well, and he thought this was going to be the best round of his life. When he got to the 17th tee, the wind had picked up, making it difficult to even swing a club, and as a result, he duck-hooked it into thick, low bushes. Miraculously, he had a great lie, and although the ball was close to bushes, he could still make a swing. Dark clouds were moving in, so he set himself up quickly, and just as he was at the top of the backswing, lightning struck down from the sky, catching his steel-shafted 5-iron. The rest of the foursome rushed over, but Joe was gone, and in his place was a dark, deep crater. Joe was fried and dead as a brick. When Joe reached the pearly gates, he was greeted by St. Peter, who told him, "Joe, we are sorry to have taken you when you are still young, however, because you loved to play golf, and you had the round of your life going, we decided to bring your clubs that you love, so you can play all of the golf course here up in heaven. These courses are the epitome of golf courses, and you will enjoy this incredible experience." Joe broke down and started sobbing uncontrollably. St. Peter said, "Joe, I know, you have left behind many loved ones. No, that's not it. Yes, my son, you also had led a good life and enjoyed life very much. I know you will miss it," St. Peter said. "No, that's not it either," Joe cried. "Well then, what on earth could make you so sad? Gosh, Josh, these are amazing and spectacular golf courses, and you're crying like an extremely tired little boy." Joe looked up with tears flooding from his eyes. "I think I left my wedge back on the 16th green." A little Johnny hears the word whorehouse in school and asks his father what it means. His father is quite shocked and replies, "Well, you go there to have a good time." The little Johnny starts screaming and hollering that he wants to go there too, but his father insists that he's too young. Saturday night, his dad and a few friends go to Susie's to have a good time, not knowing the little Johnny is following them. After his father leaves, the little Johnny enters the whorehouse and tells the madam that he wants to have a good time. She's a bit puzzled at first, but being a kind-hearted lady, she gives him 3 donuts and tells him to leave. Later that night, he comes home, his parents all worried. His father approaches him first and asks him where he's been. "I in a whorehouse," he screams proudly. "What? Well, how was it?" "I managed the first 2 without any problem, but I just licked the last." A guy is driving his girlfriend home when she decides she wants to go to her friend's instead. Her friend lives out of the way, so she tells her boyfriend that she would get naked for him if he drove her. The guy says, "Okay," and the girl takes off all her clothes. The boyfriend is so busy looking at her that he crashes the car and gets stuck between the steering wheel and the seat. He tells her to go get help, and she replies that she can't because she doesn't have any clothes on. He replies, "Take my shoe and cover your crotch with it and go for help." She takes the shoe and runs to the closest gas station. She finds the clerk and says, "Help, my boyfriend is stuck. Can you help us?" The clerk replies, "I'm sorry, I think he's too far in." The science teacher stood in the front of the class and said, "Children, if you could have one raw material in the world, what would it be?" Little Stevie raised his hand and said, "I would want gold, because gold is worth a lot of money and I could buy a BMW convertible." The teacher nodded, and then she called on little Susie. Little Susie said, "I would want platinum because platinum is worth more than gold and I could buy a Porsche." The teacher smiled, and then she called on little Johnny. Little Johnny stood up and said, "I would want silicone." The teacher said, "Silicone? Why silicone, little Johnny?" "Because my mum has 2 bags of the stuff, and you should see all the sports cars outside our house." A man goes into a Greasy Spoon restaurant and orders a bowl of chicken soup. "What's this?" he screams. "There's a pubic hair in my soup. I'm not paying for it." And he storms out. The waitress gets very upset. She follows him out and sees him go into the brothel across the street. He pays the madam and retires to a room with a lovely blonde and goes down on her with gusto. The waitress bursts in and yells, "You complain about her hair in your soup, and then come over here and do this?" He lifts his head, turns to her and says, "Yeah, and if I find a noodle in here, I'm not paying for it either." A schoolteacher asked her students to make a sentence containing the expression, "I presumed." One little girl held up her hand and said, "Yesterday my mother hand washed the dinner dishes, and I presumed that the dishwasher was broken." "Very good," said the teacher. Another one said, "This morning my father drove the Volkswagen out of the garage. I presumed that the BMW wouldn't start." "That's excellent," says the teacher. Little Johnny at the back of the classroom gets up and says, "Yesterday I saw Grandpa leave the house with a newspaper under his arm and heading for the bush. I presumed that—" The teacher interrupted him and said, "I stopped you because you have no idea what your grandfather was going to do, so you can't presume anything." Johnny says, "Please, teacher, let me finish my sentence." The teacher says, "Very well, continue." "As I was saying, I saw my grandpa heading for the bush with a newspaper under his arm. I presumed he was going for a dump because he can't read." Farmer Brown goes out one day and buys a brand new stud rooster for his chickens. The cocky young rooster walks over to the old rooster and says, "Okay, old fellow, time to retire." The old rooster says, "You can't handle all these chickens." "Look what it did to me," the young rooster replies. "Now, don't give me a hassle about this old man. It's time for the old to step aside and the young take over, so take a hike." The old rooster says, "Oh, come on, just let me have those 2 old hens over there in the corner. I won't bother you." The young rooster snarls, "Scram, beat it, you're washed up. I'm taking over." The old rooster thinks for a minute and then says to the young rooster, "I'll tell you what, young fellow, I'll have a race around the farmhouse with you. Whoever wins the race gets full reign over the chicken coop." The young rooster smiles, "You know I'm going to beat you, old man. So just to be fair, I'm even going to give you a head start." The 2 roosters line up in back of the farmhouse. A hen clucks, "Go," and the old rooster takes off running. About 5 seconds later, the young rooster takes off after him. They round the front of the farmhouse, and the young rooster is inches behind the old rooster and gaining fast. Farmer Brown, sitting on the porch, hearing the commotion, looks up and sees what's going on. Quickly, he grabs his shotgun, and boom! The young rooster is blown to smithereens. Farmer Brown sadly shakes his head in disgust. "Damn! That makes the 3rd gay rooster I bought this week."